Good morning, everybody. This is another installment of Crafting and Chill, I guess. So today we are going to be working on our test tube coloring project. We're still working on that, which is the picture here it is in the lower corner there. So last week we tried some dyeing with plastic, and so this is the result that came out. So to compare it to a clear tube, there is some color, but it's not as much color as I wanted it to be. So what we're gonna try is I have 4 different methods to try and color these plastic tubes. See if we can get something a little bit darker, a little bit richer. We are going to be putting LEDs, individual LEDs, into each of the tubes, so they are going to light up. So I'd really like whatever we treat them with to pull up and emphasize that blue color to try and get it closer to the inspiration picture, rather than just a clear tube with a light in it. So So what we're working with today is our 4 different methods. So the first method is going to be using acrylic paint. We're going to mix it with water to thin it out and see what that does. Our second method is going to be Mod Podge. You could use any kind of PVA glue like a Elmer School glue. That's all Mod Podge is really. So that and food coloring. And I have 2 different blues. This one is supposed to be neon, so I put an N on it. And this one's supposed to be regular blue, so we'll see. The third way is using resin and a mica powder. So this is the mica powder that I got. It's called Pacific Blue from MySpring, I'm not sure. But it's a real cool color. So we're gonna mix a little bit of that with our resin here, which has directions on how to mix them. And this is a resin that you get about 45 minutes to work with. I was using one that took about 20 minutes, and that made for a lot of melted plastic. Because resin, it's an exothermic reaction, so things get really warm. So we'll see how that does. And when I ordered from the MySpring company, they sent me a cool little guide on percentages and stuff like that. So I'm excited to try that. The fourth one is sort of an old standby for me. And that is a lighting gel. So using lights with a lighting gel, why not? I studied technical theater in school, so I'm real comfortable with lighting gel colors and how they interact with the lights behind them and that sort of stuff. So maybe cut that up and stick it inside a tube and see how that does. So I think that we'll start with number 1, and here are my clear test tubes. I've got 2 of each for a total of 8. And I'm gonna need 12 to 14 test tubes to all look consistent or close enough to consistent. So I do have some extras, and if this works and I have to order some more, then I have to order some more. So we'll start with our water and acrylic paint. So y'all can sort of see. Now I've got my other test tubes that I've done over here. My cutting table isn't exactly flat, so I wanted a really flat surface, or the flattest that I can get, being on carpet in an uneven basement floor, to give it the best chance for everything to sort of settle out. So I've got my water here and my acrylic paint. So I'm gonna take another plastic cup, and we're going to just see what happens. It's very exciting. So that's a nice bright blue there. And you can see with the acrylic, it's kind of thick. That's why we add the water to thin it out. Very, very precise and scientific, because you can always add more of the paint if you want it to be a deeper color, that sort of thing. So mix up here, So there's sort of our color saturation, as it were. So we take one of our test tubes here and alright, now I realized my error. I took all the caps and I already put them away, so I'll just get a new cap. I'm just trying to make sure that I hit all of the plastic. And then I'm going to pour it back into my cup. And just very slowly, I'm going to rotate it around so I can get that color all the way up to the top, since the stopper was in the way. There we go. We'll get some color on the outside, but we can wipe it off. Yeah. All right, so that was pretty quick. Already, it's a very different color from the one that we dyed last week. And it's definitely a thicker color, so we're gonna set that over here and let it dry and see how that works out. All right, so I'm gonna set my acrylic mixture over here for the moment. The next we're going to do is the Mod Podge. I am going to leave the water just in case I need to thin that out a little bit. We're going to try two different colors with this. There is a neon and a non-neon, apparently. Let's try the neon first and see just how neon it actually is. Oops. 3 little drops in there. I'll choose the other end of my stick. Oh, that is a pretty neon. Alright, and I'm going to add some water to this as well to thin it out a little bit. I did try a similar technique on a pair of glasses, plastic glasses, like safety glasses, and I used a watercolor pigment, and it didn't do so good. It was kind of splotchy. So I'm hoping that the food coloring sort of makes it a more consistent sort of color profile. All right. So that's pretty nice and bright there. And this time I'm actually going to, instead of putting a stopper back in, get my glove here, and just use my finger. And again, just trying to coat all the surfaces. And we'll dump out whatever is extra. I do see some bubbles in there, so we'll see how that does. So our acrylic and water mixture, you can actually really see it here. It's still drying, but it is giving us basically the same sort of coverage that the dyes did. Now, it's preventing the warping because it's not a hot water temperature. These are very thin plastics. So they had some trouble with the heat and the dye process. So we're going to try, so that was the neon food dye. We'll try the regular food dye. I'm going to get my marker so I can remember which one is which. It's all very scientific, as you can tell. That's not showing up at all. Let me see if I've got a black Sharpie down here. I'm sure I do. There it is. There we go. Nice and labeled. All right. So we're going to do the same thing, and except this time we're going to use the regular food dye instead of the neon food dye. Now, the majority of these methods are going to take some time to fully dry, so we may not know until tomorrow what they actually look like. So this is the regular food dye. Again, just 3 or 4 drops. You can always add more. Get us a clean tongue depressor stick. See, I wouldn't call that not neon, but it's definitely a different blue than the other was, so. I don't know. What constitutes a neon color versus a bright color? And adding just a little bit of water again. We're gonna thin them out. So here is the regular blue, and here's the neon blue. I feel somebody is telling a fib, but we'll give it a try. Just gonna pour a little bit in. And I'm just pouring like a ½ inch, if even that much. Yeah. There's that nice blue. It even looks the same on the glove. I am unconvinced that one is neon and one is not. But we shall see how they dry. All right. So there are those. So the next one I'm gonna do is the resin. It's gonna take a little bit longer to dry, so I'm hoping that we can sort of get the mixture right with the mica powder. Now, I've never actually used mica powder to color resin before. I've only used resin as a clear coat, or I was making a crown based on Elliot from the Magicians, and so I used a bunch of wood chips. Wood chips isn't quite right, but it's like wood that you'd use in the garden, and I painted it and then covered it in resin to make it nice and hard. So that's sort of where I am with my resin experience. I'm not an experienced pourer. So we've got our instructions. All right, and it says to pour in volumetrically equal amounts, 1-for-1 of room temperature resin and hardener into mixing vessel. So our hardener is purple and our resin is the blue. And that's standard for resin, is that you've got two different parts. Some will be in like containers that you can squeeze out, and some of them are liquid, like here. So I go ahead and prep my mica powder here. Just make sure everybody's got their own stick. All right, so let's just do 20 milliliters of each. I want to make sure there's enough. And if it looks like it's going to be cool, then I'll just keep going. Because I have 45 minutes to work with this material, that means that I've got some extra time. We can look at while the others are drying to see how we like it. Okay. It was so good. I pulled off the covers of everything else that I hadn't opened yet. All right. So we're gonna do 20 milliliters of resin, and then we'll add the hardener. So they come with measuring cups that have the measurements on the sides. So all right, I changed my mind. I'm gonna do 10 of each because this looks like a lot, especially considering what we're doing. Okay. All right, so resin and hardener, we're gonna pour them into our cup here. Good. And now we're going to add the hardener. Cool. I want to keep those separated too. All right. So I'm mixing together the resin and the hardener. Just like so. So now it's a little bit cloudy. And we're gonna add our mica powder. So my measurement is not super precise. can do just a little bit, and that might still be too much, but there's a saturation point where the resin won't hold any more of the mica. So I want to make sure that I don't go past that point. Ooh, this is neat, y'all. It's sort of this pearlescent, swirly kind of color. All right, so while I'm mixing this up, it looks like the neon and the non-neon food dye are the same. They're at least drying the same. Maybe if I was actually using them for food dye purposes, it'd be different, but that doesn't appear to be the case right now. All right. I don't want to get any moisture in my powder there. Grab another glove because resin is not something to not be safe about. All right. Yeah, and see, the other one that I was using got warm really quick, and this has not, which is really nice. So, got another clear tube. So I'm just gonna, just like the others, okay. Well, that makes sense because the resin's doing what it's supposed to do. So it doesn't have it's got more viscosity, basically, than the others did. But that's all right. That's why we're experimenting. See if I can, there we go, it's just slow. Do a little bit more. Try and get gravity to work with us. I'm trying to not fill it with resin. Although, it might be a way to go. Is just fill the thing up with resin and then dump it out. Let's try that. There we go. That went out real fast. Okay, cool. That was a great idea, y'all. Thank you. And then I'm just going to empty it back out. I mean, so far, I'm really liking the way this looks over all the others. But I also want to make sure that I don't have too much sort of glopped on the edge here, because I still do need to put the LED in there. And it fits like just perfectly in the top of these tubes, so. All right, so this is what our resin tube looks like for now. So we're gonna drop that in there. It's a much closer color to what we dyed. And just checking time. All right, so that'll be okay for a little while. So going back to, so this is our acrylic and water. Not thrilled with it. Obviously that line there from where the stopper was in, and then we tried to fill it in. Not great. This is our neon food dye, which is still not quite dry. And this is our non-neon food dye. They look the same to me. So, I'm making a mess over here. So far, I'm feeling the best about the resin piece. And I wonder, we might as well give it a try, right? Let's fill up one of the tubes with resin, or pretty close to it. No. I'm gonna let that sit. Have a little bit of chill. All right. So the last technique, which I have a much better idea of how that's actually gonna work out, is the lighting gel. So I bought this from stagelightingstore.com, I think it's called. And you can buy single gel sheets. So that's what I did. So for this, I'm not gonna have any sort of weird mixes or anything like that. You just need to get a good measurement. So I'm gonna take a test tube. And take my Sharpie. We'll exaggerate it just a little bit. And it's got a slight curve to it, so there we go. All right, so I'm gonna cut out this little rectangle that I drew and use just regular cutting scissors. There's no special scissors that you need. It really is just a colored plastic. I'll go ahead and cut out the Sharpie lines. So here's our little gel piece. All right, so now, let's see, I'm gonna trim this up just a little bit more, it looks like. And we may be able to do a combination of techniques, right? Like we may be able to put some resin in the bottom so we can get that sort of darker bottom piece, and then a gel in the sides to get a nice consistent color distribution. We'll see. So what I'm gonna do is to wrap this up. See if that'll work. So here's our instant color. Now we do, like I said, we are going to have the bottom, and we could potentially try and cut it to make it a little circular down there, but that would be a different shape, I feel. So this is a lot of overlap with this color. So let's try and see. Let's do two different ones. Hello, how are you? There we go. All right, so I just turned the top off. And let's take a peek and see what it looks like just on that size. Also, it's very dry in my house, so it's very staticky. Where is it? Okay. So here's our LED. Here's what it looks like in a plain sort of a thing. Yeah, y'all were really crushing it yesterday with your stream. I only did an hour and was still pretty tired this morning. So there is with the gel. It's still pretty nice. I wonder, I mean, it's an LED, so it's going to be bright. Could potentially diffuse the dome. So let's see. Make sure nothing's sticking to my chair over here. All right. What did I do with that? Oh. All right, so this is our acrylic and water. I'm not crazy about the line. We'll do it this way. I have a bunch of LEDs just for this project. So let's bust them out so that they all match. All right. All right, so there is but I don't run down these batteries immediately. So each of these have a little paper that separates the battery when they're shipped so that they won't, basically so they won't turn on while in shipping, which is very appreciated, but it means I gotta go through and take the little paper out of every one of them and try not to take out the tiny batteries. All right. Yeah, these are the little tiny papers that it comes with. All right. So these are not quite dry, but I think it'll give us a good idea of the best way forward. All right, and one more for our resin friend. All right. And can't forget our dyed. All right, so to be super sciencey about it, we'll have our control tube, which has no color on it. And then we have the tube that we dyed last week, the acrylic tube, the resin tube, and then this is the tube with the gel in it. So all right, so this is the clear, this is no color, this is the dyed color, this is the acrylic with water, this is the resin here in the middle, this is one of the dyes with the Mod Podge, this is the other dye with the Mod Podge, and this is the lighting gel. So I think, Alexa, turn off crap.
Sorry, the hub that device craft connected to is not responding. Please check its network connection and power supply.
All right, it's as dark as it's gonna get here in my little craft room. So, this is sort of what we're working with right now. So it looks like the dye didn't really do anything as far as color goes. And it looks like the gel is probably gonna be our best bet, honestly. It does lose the light as it gets further down. But if we put something beneath it to sort of bounce that light back up, and that's probably a good thing to do for all of them. And we may be able to achieve that with the resin. The resin is definitely doing a great job diffusing the light as well. So I think that that is gonna be, these are our two winners. So let's try this. If I can get it out. And this is a double, basically a double layer of... Oh no. Down. It's not telling me that I am. That's very upsetting. Oh, this may be the ticket, y'all. This is resin on the inside and then the gel in addition to it. Now, the resin was still drying, so it's gonna be looking weird, but I think that this may be our winner here. So we've got our resin and our gel combined. And in the light, it looks pretty good too. Even with the LED turned off, which is something that the rest of these, when there's no LEDs running, that they don't look that great. Oh, did I pick the wrong thing? Hold on. Let me finish turning off the rest of these lights. Oh no, that was one of the food dye tubes. Well, yeah, this was the resin one. Because I do like the way that it looks, that sort of shimmery over there. That looks nice. I like this. With the resin in the bottom like that, and a light coating on the sides, so that it sort of gives this a bit of a sparkle. And then with the light on. I like that a lot. And our resin is still good. So we'll set this one off to the side. Right, you are the clear one. That's right, there were two clear ones because one of them had a gel in it only. All right, so I'm gonna set these over here. Those did not do the way I wanted them to. But the good news is that we did find something that worked. So we still have our mixture here. start pouring resin into these test tubes. And really, filling it with resin is not that heavy. I'll give this a go. I mean, my plan is to attach these LEDs anyway, so they're not going to go anywhere. Looks like there'll be a little bit more displacement than I want. That was less than I wanted. Alright, so if we fill the resin all the way up to the top of the tube, yeah, there's not enough light traveling through it at that point. Alright. You know what? I'm gonna let it sit anyway and let it dry and see if maybe it dries a little bit clearer. We'll see how that does. Maybe it'll dry clear. If it was a regular resin mixture, it would already be clear, so we'll see. So it doesn't leave a whole lot of resin left in our cup, which is fine. Looks like the stream may be back up. I don't know what happened. I'll have to look into that for next time, so I apologize. So I don't know how well y'all can see that. There's definitely two different so the first one has resin filled almost all the way to the top, and the second one is the resin, the one without the light in it, is the resin and the gel together. So I just want to see sort of how that will play out. So, yeah. So just a sort of recap, we had our dyed tube. It was pretty pale. And we had the two food colorings. This one is supposed to be neon, and this one is supposed to be regular. And they look the same to me. So that was not the thickness or the intenseness of the color that I wanted. Although I will just for fun, since the tube is already ruined, let's try putting a little bit more of the solution in there. Since it is a PVA glue. And let's see how that does. See if it still dries clear or not. Basically clear. It's a little bit tinted. Like the tutorial that I saw online had a lot more color to it than what I'm seeing here. I may have put too much water in it. This is supposed to be the not neon one. Well, and what I'm trying to do is like the picture down there so that it's got some tint to it even when the light is off. Oh, I see. To try and salvage my test tubes. That's okay. I've got some extras. Although you gave me a thought there, Candor Mage. So let's see. So this is one of the ones that we dyed with the plastic dye on last week's stream. So it's got a little bit of that blue tint to it already. And it's got the blue coloring at the bottom, which is the problem with putting the gels into a clear tube, is that they just don't, there's nothing at the bottom to color it, so I'm gonna have to come up with some sort of solution for that. But could potentially do the gel and a dyed tube. So that's the gel and the dyed tube. And this is the gel and the resin. They both look pretty good with the light on. And they both look good with the light off. So we'll see. I think that using the gel, unless I'm just gonna fill it with resin completely. And this is our resin one that's been filled completely with resin. And this is gonna take a full 24 hours to dry, so we're not really gonna know. But I think what's probably gonna happen is it's not gonna dry as clear as I want it to. Actually, since we're just sort of experimenting for the next 3 minutes with no real plan. Now that the resin has sat in there for a little bit. I'm trying to see if I can keep some of this sort of pearlescent sort of look to it. That's pretty much gonna get it all. So we'll let the rest of that sink down to the bottom. Oh, now that may be what I want. We'll have to see. We'll have to see when it dries. Good news is that we now have a couple of options. So we've got the resin that's basically fully coated and sits in there for a couple of minutes. We've got the resin with the gel in it. That seems to be a good choice. And we've got the dyed test tube with the gel in it. So a couple of different options to definitely, I'm gonna let it dry, and then I'll be sending pictures to the customer, see which one they like better, and then we can go from there. So I want to thank everybody for joining me for this experimentation day. And so yeah, you can find us on Etsy at the Geek Forge. geekforge.org is our website. I'm on Tuesday nights with Rem Alternis playing Shadowrun, which is super fun. And yeah, we're on Instagram. I just fired up the TikTok again to try and not be so old, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, so I've got this project. I have a project where I'm making some Leiku from the Twi'leks in Star Wars. And so let me know if there's anything in particular you'd like to see us work on next. Those are my two sort of commissions that I've got in the stream right now. And so other than that, yeah, I don't have any kind of specific spiel. So that's what I've got for today. So thanks everybody for coming by and hanging out. And I hope that you all have a great day. And thanks for coming by for crafting and chilling.